The US housing market was short about 3 million homes. 2024 sales of real estate were the lowest they've been in 30 to 35 years. First-time buyers formed only 24% of all buyers in 2024, and 47% of real estate agents did zero deals last year. So we are in December, we are getting a recap of the real estate market. We had a pretty contentious presidential elections and a lawsuit that the industry was dealing with. And we'll unpack all of this and see how that impacted the statistics for 2024. We'll make some predictions for 2025 so you can make some decisions for your family. And as usual, I always say all real estate is local, so stay tuned till the end where I share some local numbers as well. Let's take a look at sales going back all the way to 1994 in this graph. The red line clearly shows that surge before the recession of 08-09 and the second surge right post-COVID. 2021 was some crazy years in real estate where the sales just skyrocketed and prices actually skyrocketed as well. But if you see the two little blips afterwards, it is 2023 and 2024. And the sales is entirely and mainly due to low inventory on the market. And this chart may explain it a little better, because let's look at what came up. What's the supply of inventory? If there are just no homes to buy, how are people going to buy them? So the second chart talks about the month's supply of inventory. The blue line is the new construction homes and the red is resales or the existing home sales. So the builders on their part are doing their best. They're cashing in on the strong sellers market, and they have done a lot of building, especially in our area as well. And the blue line is pretty solid in terms of homes available for sale. But the red line is what shows that the existing owners, the sellers, the people who are currently living in these homes are reluctant to actually sell their homes and put them on the market. So as a result, we've got an inventory gap. There's way more buyers, not enough homes on the market to buy them. And so we're short of, millions of homes. The US market has been growing in terms of the population, and that population is aging as well. So we have incoming population growth, plus the aging population where they're getting more into those home ownership ages. The millennials and the Gen Zs are ready to buy. And that's where all the demand is coming from. So if there's such a shortage in inventory, the sales are going to get impacted. And that's what's happened in 2023 and 2024. So how do we convince sellers to sell their homes and move on, right, to their next homes? Because there's these Gen Zs and millennials waiting to buy. Let's find out why they didn't do that. One of the main reasons, and I'll share about 3 or 4 of them. The elections. 2024 was an election year. So for those of you who haven't watched my video, I actually did an entire video on how elections impact, on my last market update video, how elections impact home sales and pricing and mortgage rates, etc. So the link is in the description below. Feel free to check it out. But these were the most contentious presidential elections. And this is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of the swing states. And so the residents here were the most actively involved in these elections. And there is uncertainty. There's always uncertainty before elections, and people want to know whether it is their party that's winning, or even if it doesn't win, they want to know what the policies are going to be for the next 4 years. So in uncertainty, people pull back and try not to make too many life-changing decisions. And that, I believe, definitely impacted more sellers putting their homes on the market for sale. One of the biggest ones is mortgage rates, right? A lot of these sellers are locked into 3% and under mortgage rates. And now if they have to sell and get another mortgage, their new mortgage is going to be closer to the high 6s and 7s. And so it is really difficult for them to give up the 3% mortgage and then get into a 7%, right? So 2024 saw a large upheaval within the real estate industry in the form of this lawsuit. Big brokerages and the National Association of Realtors were sued, and they had to pay out huge settlements, and the way business was done changed completely. So August was the deadline where the lawsuit went into effect, and starting August, we had to do things a little differently here. For those of you who don't know much about the lawsuit, I do have a link in the description below. Check it out. I had a video earlier explaining what those changes are that the lawsuit brought about. So it required a mindset shift. There's 1.4 million real estate agents that are members of NAR alone, and then there are more realtors that are not members. So millions of realtors had to change the way business. First of all, they had to get educated, and then they had to educate their own buyers and sellers, the clients that they worked with, on all the new ways of doing business, how they were going to get paid, how the forms have changed, how the process has changed. So it took a little bit of an adjustment, and that is also, I believe, one of the reasons why things slowed down. August is a slow month in real estate, but between the elections and in the last quarter and this lawsuit, and people, realtors just trying to deal with the changes and the interest rates, we saw the lowest inventory we've had in a very long time. So the demand far exceeds supply, and we just didn't have enough homes on the market for sale, and we had really low sales in the last couple of years. Here are some other statistics which I found were really, really fascinating and interesting, and thought I'd share them with you. Typically, first-time buyers form about 1/3 of the market. That's when you're meeting your spouse, you just got married, you got your first baby. That's what most people assume is when you need a home, and that's the significant portion of the buyers market every year. But this year, the first-time buyers formed only 24% of all buyers. So that share dropped drastically. And this is an interesting stat. The median age of the buyers was 56. So the buyer population was older and richer. The baby boomer population is the richest population. With the rising prices, only they could pretty much afford to buy homes in this market. In terms of another stats also, 76% of all the buyers didn't have any kids under 18 living at home. So we saw some very interesting statistics with parents buying the homes for their kids, for their Gen Z kids. If the young ones cannot afford to buy because of high interest rates, high mortgages, it is the parents who are buying the homes for them. So that average age, like older and richer people got to buy homes, and homes sold in that, and the price ranges rose in the higher end category, whereas in the first time buyer market, things stagnated and they were just basically priced out of the market. So I have a couple of other interesting stats for you, right? The 80-20 rule applies for everything in life in general, but it is even more pronounced in real estate. The barriers to entry for real estate businesses are very low. Anybody can pass 2 exams and become a realtor, but to sustain it in the long run and make a living of it is the more difficult part. So 47% of agents in 2024 did not sell a single home. That's a pretty strong statistic. It is representative of an industry which churns, a lot of people, because one of the other statistics I've heard is 85% of fresh licensees never renew their license. So it's difficult to sustain, a business. Its entry is pretty easy. So there's another stat out there. Pending home sales that fell out of contract. Would you believe it? Things change, suddenly the interest rates shoot up, and you're under contract, both parties have agreed to buy and sell the home. The terms of the contract have been decided, paperwork has been signed, and you're moving along, and then suddenly something happens and you have to get out of the contract. So the contract's falling apart at that stage. That number has been rising steadily. So look at 2024, there are 60,000 homes that were under escrow that went, that had canceled agreements of sale. So why does that happen? I believe it is education. There's a lot of realtors out there who are not as skilled, who have not prepared their buyers and sellers for what to come, and they get under contract. Homes were selling fast, homes were selling at a high price, and so you threw it in the MLS, it sold, and now what? There are some issues, some things were not taken care of. The buyers and sellers were not educated well enough, and here we have a situation where they have to get out of contract. So given that 47% of the real estate agents didn't sell a single home, and so many contracts are falling apart, Who you work with matters. I'm going to take a couple of minutes to let you know there are solutions out there. I have worked with clients who have had PHFA loans, which are like, these special government programs that help low-income folks buy homes. There are brother and sister have bought a home together to try and, defray the costs and actually make the mortgage happen. Parents have helped their kids buy homes with the down payment assistance. We've had friends and partners buy the homes and, get into roommate kind of situations. So there are options out there to build this home ownership and start building some equity for the young folks as well. We don't want them all to be priced out of the market. We love young buyers and we want them to stop renting, and we want to give them the solutions that can help. So some, adjustment of expectations, some counseling, some knowledgeable realtors giving them. There's a PHFA loan. There's, construction loans for people who want to build their homes. So there's so many solutions out there. And reach out to an experienced realtor who can help with that, and then we'll help this new generation of people who are, buying, who would like to buy homes to get into the housing market and build that wealth and build that equity. Because again, the statistics show that in the long run, buying a home is absolutely the most savings or the greatest wealth that some homeowners have in their entire lives. So let's set people on a path to home ownership, and that's going to be, helpful in the long run. So now it's time to predict what's happening in 2025. But before I go there, let's look at the Chester County statistics for 2024. So while the rest of the market, the US market, was stagnant, us in the Philly suburbs still see growth. There's growth in income, growth in population, and growth in housing. And the prices are going higher as well. So I just added the 2024 numbers to this chart that I share with my market updates every year. And look at the median price of homes. It grew up significantly last year. Remember, older people buying, higher end homes made up a lot of the statistics, not the first time buyer homes, because that market was pretty stagnant, right? So $525K is the median price of homes in Chester County for last year. And the units increased also slightly. While, the national market is stagnant, Chester County increased a little bit. And in terms of volume also, it increased by almost $500 million. So it's a pretty significant rise given that the rest of the country is stagnant. So hey, you're in the Northeast, in the Philly suburbs, we're doing really well with real estate. So what are the predictions for the future in terms of interest rates? By all means, everybody out there is saying that they're gonna drop maybe, but not below 6%. The chances of the interest rates dropping below 6% are pretty low. So in case you're waiting to see if the 3% is never coming back. But even 4 and 5 seem very, very impossible. If it goes below 6, that's a huge win. It's a great time to refinance. It's a great time to lock it in. Let me tell you, you can never time the market. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that I've created videos that say things like this. You can't time the market exactly, and you can't say, oh, I'm going to wait for the mortgage rates to drop and find the right home in that window. That may never happen. So the idea is look for a home that you can afford and, find something and buy it. Never mind the interest rates. If they go up, you're lucky you lock them in. If they go down, you can always refinance. And if they stay the same, doesn't really matter. So don't base your home buying decisions on the mortgage rates, because they're not going to go below 6%. That's what my prediction is for next year. But there's a lot of other pundits in the industry also predicting the same. And as for prices, they're talking about slight increases in prices across the board, across the nation. And I anticipate a slight increase in price for our area as well. The Philly suburbs, like I said, is a very strong market. Even when everybody else was stagnant, our prices grew and our sales grew. So we're expecting in 2025 slightly higher prices. I personally believe the spring market is going to be one hot market. There's a lot of people who stayed on the sidelines and did not jump into the market in the last couple of years, and they will all jump in now. People buy and sell homes for life-changing reasons. You're getting retired, you switched your jobs, you have a baby and you need more space. You got married, you got divorced, there was a death in the family. Those are the things that trigger real estate purchases and sales. And if people have been waiting on the sidelines the last 2 years and there's this pent up demand and supply situation, it's going to skyrocket this spring, I believe. So, if you are a buyer and waiting for next year, just know that the competition is going to be very intense in spring. At least that's my prediction. And if you're a seller, no better time to sell your home. If you're thinking of selling, the spring market is it. Here's your chance to get some incredible equity that you've built in the home, and move on with your life and do whatever else that you had in plan for the next phase of your life. So that's my predictions. I had made some predictions last year as well. My video is out there for the world to see. Comment below if you had seen this, and you could go back and find that video. The link is in the description, and we can discuss what went wrong, what went right, and did I say things that did come true eventually.